Hello and welcome back to Hadoop Exam Learning Resources. In this session, we are going to discuss about the domain abstraction, which also has a piece here to discuss services, repository, and factories. These are relatively bigger, so I'll take each one as a separate session. So let's start with the services. So these are the abstraction. As an abstraction means you will implement as an interfaces, correct? So let's start with the services. A service basically exists to provide a home for operation that don't quite fit into the aggregate root or entity or value object. We remember like in an entity or value object you can put a business logic as well, correct, or aggregate root or whatever, but services are used when you think like this business logic does not fit with any entity, then I should create a service object and put the business logic inside that, correct. So that is what the idea with the service when you need to create a service. As an example, when you have an operation that don't fit or aggregate root does not go into any aggregate root, then it operates on multiple aggregate root, or maybe it doesn't belong to any existing aggregate root, then go for the service basically, correct. Even across multiple aggregate root you want to use it, and go for this. You can put logic into a service, obviously business logic. Service should be stateless. You should not be maintaining any state in the service. It should be just doing the operation or business logic, that's all, and then give you the response. It should not have any state maintenance. In the service is used to abstract away anti-corruption layer. One example we have learned like previously, anti-corruption layer, so you can implement anti-corruption layer using the service. However, don't be rushed to put everything into service. Service should be very thin, and whatever the purpose of this service, just put that only, like stripping out of your address information from the customer object from previous session if you remember. So that should be the only thing your service layer should be doing, not much more than that. First and foremost, it is better to carefully analyze whether the operation fits into one of the existing aggregate root, because if that fits in aggregate root, don't create a service, go for the aggregate roots. That's your priority. If you could not find an aggregate root, it's subsequently better to ask yourself, you have missed to design aggregate root. That can be another thing you can think. So this are all very uh, not easily achievable, right? This is a practice. You understand, you design the system, you do multiple times the designing of the system, then only you would come to the like this level of understanding. This should be an aggregate root, I missed anything in aggregate root, or this should be a service, this should be an events, this should be queries, this should be entities. This all thing to identify is not very easy, let me tell you. Here we are learning the concept and how we trying to find it out, kind of thing. I'll give you some example towards the end of this training as well to find out this, but this is a practice. Basically, as much as you design your system your own, then only you would find it out all this concept and abstract out and get the detail about this. Sometimes you may be missing correct domain object and going towards service, correct. So this is what you need to understand, like why I need to design a service, really it is needed or not. It can fit into any value object, it can fit any entities, or uh, like aggregate roots or anything, correct. So that is what you have to be careful. If you do mistake, then your design go towards the bad design basically. Service examples, like if your system needs to send an SMS, so as sending an SMS is basically, if your restaurant system, so SMS is not a core of their system, correct, like, but you need this service, so better you can go for the service in this case, because this may not fit in any of their customer object or your order reservation payment. This should not be part of this, correct. Basically how SMS should be sent. SMS can be, there are multiple ways to send an SMS. Similarly, email sender, let's say email, I can send it in multiple ways. Like one example to sending the email is by AWS SES. Another example is PHP email service, correct. Another example is SMTP service, correct. So these are various ways to send the email. So I can have an interface for that email service, and these are the concrete implementation I can have for this. Calculation service, if you want to do the multiplication, addition, subtraction, or any other formula, that should not be of like part of any of the basically doing this like summation of the orders in this. So you can put that logic into the service, correct, like kind of thing. So that would go into the calculation service. Calculation service just give the input, like multiplies two values in this, and x and y, and result is a response of the multiplication. So this should not maintain any state or kind of thing. Password hashing service is another example. You give the password as an input, get the hash as an output of this, and save it in your database. So that is what. So some example which I already discussed is the email sender, correct? So email sender, you would create an abstract interface in your service in your bounded context, and you use this the implementation would be outside of your bounded context. Which one would be used? Your bounded context don't care, like the whatever is available that would be used, basically, kind of thing, correct? So that way you can implement email as a service, correct? So services are often used in abstract, always something like anti-corruption layer, which we discussed in above example. Email sender is an abstract service which we have a different concrete implementation. Either of these three should be used. All three services are implemented as an external service. We discuss email sender is an anti-corruption layer. This would go in your anti-corruption layer, correct? And our domain context should not know how emails are sent. Email sender can have some business logic, even it is stateless, like business logic in the sense like I should send via this, I should send via this, or I should send via this. If my uh, let's say ACS subscription is expired, so I need to start using this to send an email or something like that, correct, basically. Or if I wanted to create some reporting better than which ACS can give me the detail, then I can use this. So that is what kind of business logic I can have in the my service layer, but it cannot have any state maintained in this. When business logic does not fit with an existing entity or value object, we encapsulate that in a service. That's what we have discussed. If you think you need a state in your service, then rather go for entity or value object. Service should have stateless business processing logic. This, for example, the server in the restaurant will place an order once they completed entering into the system. Placing the order send it to the kitchen, where it will be printed using a ticket printer. The kitchen will remove the ticket and begin preparing the order. The logic printing the ticket can be hidden behind which of the following domain abstraction. You create a kitchen notification service, like which is similar to this email service, correct, here. So this is a notification service, you would send it, and how you would want to put the logic, basically. So this is what about the service. So you need to identify and be like what I would say, like not to in hurry or like to implement the service. Try to find your business logic fit into the aggregate root entity or value object or not, correct? If it fits there, then you don't need a service. Then you're if you put by any reason in something in a service, then it would be basically a problem. So you remember, you would be creating utility classes kind of thing in your system, like to do calculations or kind of thing. Those kind of thing can go into the service because they have a business logic, but they don't have a state kind of thing. So those kind of things should go into the service, like converting your INR to dollar, dollar to INR. This should be part of the service. It should not be part of any aggregate root entities or value object. Okay. So that's all. Thank you. Thanks for watching. I hope you like this session. If you are watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe it. I'm stopping now. Thank you.